How's it going, guys? Today I'm going to talk a little bit about GitHub, which is a free open source tool for software developers. Before we really dig in, I think a brief overview might be helpful. Now, Git was designed by Linus Torvalds. That was the original version that led to GitHub. It was an open source version control software system, which means that you could basically go back and see the revisions, who made changes to source code, and etc. It's the most popular open source VCS in operation. The problem is that it's local to the computer, which means that it's pretty much limited to the developer himself. GitHub was designed as a social coding tool, which is essentially doing the same thing that Git does as a version control system, but it's on the web, which means that for open source projects, anybody can view them and contribute their own pieces of code. And for private groups, they can actually buy a space to develop their own code and share it with other developers. Now, the most basic form for Git is a repository, which is a storage area. Think of it like a folder, almost, for all of your source code and everything like that. A couple things that GitHub recommends is that you should give all of the info in a README file, and it's really neat. It actually opens up and you can read a little bit about what the project is, especially for a new developer hopping into an open source project. It helps a lot to sort of see what they're going towards and what sort of things they would like to add. Another thing is that you definitely want to avoid big pieces of data. Anything like heavily compiled code, big media files, stuff like that. Avoid it because they can throttle your bandwidth if people are downloading these huge files all the time. If you're interested in a project, you can actually fork something, which essentially takes your own little division of it, and you can add revisions to your own fork repository. Don't forget, though, to clone that repository onto your own computer so then you can modify it. I'll show you an example later. You can push the updates out after you modify a couple chunks of code, or you can pull updates from the main file in. So if you're spending a couple of weeks on a project that's ongoing, you can keep pulling in the updates and continue to modify your code to reflect that new system. There are a lot of great reasons why you should be using GitHub. First, if you're a student, which I assume you are since this is a student channel, it provides an opportunity to collaborate with industry professionals with years of training. It also allows for you to practice classroom notes with real-world application, which will help you grow as a programmer. It's also great for professional reasons because real-life working code will impress any company worth the interview a lot more than just a skill maker. Here's a homepage for the GitHub website. You can see right here there's this giant sign-up button right there. I'm not going to walk you through that. I figure if you're trying to design software, you probably don't need me to hold your hand through creating an account. So I'll just close this right here. I already have my account open, and you'll see this is the GitHub homepage. It's pretty neat. There's actually a little boot camp right here that shows you all the basics of working with GitHub. I'll click on the first one right here to show you. So you can actually set up Git. It's really easy. You can download the GitHub client itself. They have a native app now, and it's for Windows or for Mac, as you'll see. I already have the Windows one installed, so we'll keep working as if we've already had that installed. So this is where it gets really interesting. You can actually click this Explore button, and once it loads, you can see all sorts of crazy projects. It's unbelievable. There's all sorts of neat things. For example, alright, let's just click on one right here, and you'll see this is the entire repo, and this is an open source project. You can see all of the stuff that's been developed, and here's the README. Like I said, you'll want to have one of these to explain what this thing does. Now, it's pretty neat how much stuff there really is in all of these. You'll see that there are 1,032 people that have started this project, 286 forks on this project, and on the branch, thankfully there's only one, but some projects will have up to 8 or 10 that I've worked on. So, once you find a project that you really like, I have a couple open actually. I have Hello World, one of the basics, that's open, and I also have an introduction to Node, which is a JavaScript. And there's a basic tutorial on that, and you'll see there's a lot of stuff. Once you see something that really excites you, you can actually click this Clone in Windows button, that is if you have the client, and you'll see it actually loads right here. So it's really neat. It actually saves it on your computer, and now you have your own clone that you have on your computer that you can modify the code. You can go through and you can see all of the changes, and you'll see there are a lot of changes. It's just unbelievable how much stuff there really is in each of these projects. And if you're interested in contributing your own little portion, you can actually open it in your own Explorer and you can modify the code yourself. You'll see there's all of the necessary items to develop the code, and you can just go through, and I already have Notepad++. You can use whatever editing software you'd like to modify these things. Since this is a JavaScript one, Notepad++ will do just fine, and you can actually go through and modify the code. If you modify the code, you can go through, save this, and then go here and you can push your updates back to the original file. So if they really like what sort of code you've been designing, they can actually take it in on the project and your change will be logged. Now, if you've already had a GitHub account and you've never downloaded the client, because I know it's a little bit newer than everything else on the site, you can actually go back and see all of the repositories that you've been following, and you can actually see if you've already cloned it. If not, you can clone it right here on the page itself, and it'll go to your local repositories, and you can see it right here. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope that you add me on GitHub, and if you have any questions, just contact me at the link below.